Doctor Who Season 6, Episodes 35 to 44, titled The War Games, which is the final story of the Second Doctor. And I knew a couple of things walking into this. One, I knew that it was going to be the introduction of the Time Lords, which is, like, naturally they were thinking, they were making this up as they, went along with the show, and it makes sense that, at the beginning, the whole thing of Doctor Who, you don't know nothing about him. He's just named the Doctor, and he seems ancient, and that's all you need to know. But the more you have the show going on as like 6 years or 6 seasons, you need to know more about the guy. And knowing that, like, there's a way to keep a mystery and revealing stuff and find that right balance. And, they do. They do find that right balance of like, hey, this is the planet. This is his race. They named the Time Lords, and they have a bit of beef with the Doctor, and that leads to his generation, which I will talk about. But the other thing was that this story, because this is the first time me ever watching this. This story is known to be pretty, like, it's 10 episodes. That is, you can feel the length. You can feel that it's 10 episodes. You can feel that 4 hours, and I'm like, okay, good to know. Sit down, up to the War Games. Go on press it, episode 1, and just have it hit me with all 10 episodes. And at the beginning, I was like, this is quite good. I'm quite enjoying this. This is a quite solid, well done, paced story, where you have the Doctor, Jamie and Zoe entering to 1917 during World War One. They are captured by the British. They are mistaken as spies, and when they are escaping, they realize that they're not on Earth, and this whole planet is a time lock, that they're kind of just jumping in and out 3 time periods. The Romans, World War One in 1917, and the Civil War. And it's just them trying to figure out what's going on, why is that the situation, and essentially that. Because our villains somehow has a TARDIS on themselves, and that they are won by a guy named the War Council, and who's higher up is the Warlord, and I knew, as I said, I knew about the Time Lords, so I was like, okay, this guy, this War Council, he seems like he knows stuff, and he's more likely is a Time Lord, and that, so I knew, I kind of figured that out quite easily, but I was like digging it most of the part. The idea of like, just put a pair of glasses, do the Clark Kent thing, wear a pair of glasses, say some words, and people just automatically believe you and do what they say. Hypnotize people just by having glasses. I wear glasses. Maybe I'm easily hypnotizing people. No, I'm not. No, I'm very unsuccessful in wooing. Anyway, so you have that, and the first half I really enjoyed, but then the moment we get to the Civil War, that's when I felt like things were dipping down, because the moment the Doctor the Doctor and Zoe enter into this, let's call it a TARDIS. Let's call it what it is, a TARDIS. It's not the TARDIS, it's a TARDIS. And into the a villain ship, I was like, okay, let's all focus on this. But the moment we keep cutting in and out with Jamie, who's still in the time capsule of inside the Civil War, I personally was like, I don't really care about Jamie at this point. For me, it's all about the Doctor. It's about the Doctor's journey. It's about the Doctor's... And it could easily be like, I know where it's leading up to. I know it's leading up to him regenerating. So for me, it could easily be like, hey, let's make it the most epic thing in the world. And 10 episodes, that could easily be the mindset, right? But I just like, anytime we had this, like they even had like a villain, like a very typical like German-esque type villain, and they try and do the whole capture thing, and him trying to trick our heroes to have us understand. And I'm like, nah, I just prefer if he was captured and call it a day, and that's it. I did not care anything about the Civil War side of things, of the story. And anytime we go back and there's some more action and all that, it just felt like we were just adding time than just like it being needed. And you have, through the story, you have certain points that feels very redundant, that we're just repeating these elements of, like, there's a part where the War Council, he's moving, he's trapping the Doctor, and this army character that the Doctor and companions meet, and you have Zoe, and they are trapped. They're trapped inside this like elevator, and then the Doctor's like, white flag, okay, we're all good. I surrender, all that. And I'm like, okay, you capture him, and maybe the companions, maybe our other characters are let go, but the Doctor's captured. And I'm like, okay, that's how you move the story forward, and there's a sense of tension and a sense of tension and wear towards it. But honestly, but it keeps on going and going and going, and to the point I was like, really starting to be that. I mean, around like episode 8 was when I really felt the length of the story. Episode 8 is when I was like, this is getting too long. This is just getting redundant for the sake of it. But by episode 9, where you have this, after like the big threat and the big villain and everything's kind of nearly hitting its conclusion, the performance that Patrick Troughton gives us as the second Doctor, knowing that the Time Lords are coming, knowing what is happening, knowing that he needs to contact the Time Lords, knowing the events of the episode, knowing the events of the story, and trying to get everyone who is time locked and who has been taken out of their homes but basically put everyone who's been, every soldier be back in their time that they were taken away from. The performance that Patrick Troughton does is really damn good. It's really good. Of like just oh shit. And naturally Jamie and Zoe don't understand what's going on. It's like, hey, it's your people. It's great. It's all gonna be good. All dandy. But there's like more panic comes on, and piles and piles and piles are on, and like every second, like even I kind of got annoyed by the companion, by Jamie and Zoe. Just like, can you guys just shut up and let the Doctor enter into the TARDIS? Just let them, like. I get it. It's one of those things, like, the companion's just there, the companion's us, and they're meant to be nothing but questions. But there's a point where you're like, okay guys, can you just shut up and just like let the Time Lords take you home? No? Okay, well, like, I swear to God, I picture like the Doctor's like, fine, come, just tag along with me, fine. Okay, like, I really don't care. I just want to get back into my ship and get away from the people that I'm running away from, because I did something that I shouldn't, because my ways are very assertive versus being very evolved with time. And then we hit the final episode in the 10th episode, and it's really well done. Even though the little thing of like the warlord having like this whole like evil plan thing, I'm like, dude, just accept your fate. Accept your fate. I just didn't feel like, for me it was like, it felt like it felt like they needed the action there. They need some action in that moment. While reality they didn't. It could have easily just be drama. It could easily just be drama, and you know, it really reminds me of like Superman, you know, with Krypton at the beginning, you know, with like the warlord being Zod. One day, what's so long? I will have you before me. One day, you is. That's where my brain went to. But after all the warlord stuff, and how the trial of the Doctor, the first trial of the Doctor, because I know there's a story with the Sixth Doctor named The Trial of a Time Lord, and I know it's about the Doctor's trial of the Time Lord. So his first Time Lord trial, and it being revealed that he stole the TARDIS, and how the Time Lords are all about, you know, look but don't touch, and the Doctor's like, you know, there's people there who I need to help, and yes, I want to, you know, don't look and touch and just observe the world and have brief interactions and all that kind of stuff. But hey, when there's a fucking Dalek on the scene, I'm going to help, or a Yeti, or a Cyberman, or what we have, because you know they listed off pretty much the entire Second Doctor's there with villains outside the Bubble Snowman, except the Yetis, we're pretty much all packed. But yeah, I found the whole Doctor on trial thing, even though once again Jamie and Zoe are like, it's one of those things like, you get it, you know, and Mike gets the idea that at the time they probably thought, like, because at the time the BBC saw Doctor Who as a kids show, it was like kids probably don't understand what's going on. Like the idea of your heroes on trial, is he going to get murdered? Is he going to get this? What's going to happen? So you'll have the companions saying all these things, and it just did grate me a little bit of just like, can you guys just stay by the TARDIS? You know, your friend wants you to stay by the TARDIS. That he does not want you to know the outcome, and just accept that, hey, you're going home, you're not going to see him, and maybe, you know, maybe they'll let you say quickly goodbye, but just, you know, brush off, just, you know, accept it. And you know, of course, naturally the fire, I mean, Jamie's a fighter, that's for sure. But then you got the final scene of the big, like, the Doctor's outcome, which clearly isn't death. Well, ish. It is. The Time Lords agree that yes, we believe there are threats out there, and it seems like you are having a way, you know, able to handle yourself pretty well. But you'll be in exile, and mainly Earth in the 20th century, because it seems like you love these fucking humans so much. So you're gonna be there. You'll be on exile, 20th century, once again. The TARDIS will be locked. And you're not going to have the same face. And I love the reaction of Troughton with that line of, you can't change my face, I was assaulting me. Like, he feels absolute, like he kind of prefers, it's like his, like the Doctor he kind of wants them to just kill him versus, you know, changing himself again. And the actual generation itself, it was kind of like, clearly at the time, it was three things probably a factor. A, they didn't cast Jon Pertwee yet. 2 is knowing point the next time they go and see the next Doctor Who story was going to be in color. Or 3, they just want to keep it a mystery of the whole thing of like the Doctor's regenerating, he's saying these lines like, what's happening to me, like this merge of it is just of it, and it's detailing and this kind of trippy version of a regeneration, but you don't see the face of who's the new guy, and that is not normally how it goes. Normally, like, the Doctor dies and he regenerates, the character regenerates, and then you get introduced to your new face, the new Doctor, and just not seeing the face, I'm like, oh, okay, simple. So those are my speculations. They didn't cast John Pertwee yet. It was gonna be in color. The next episode was gonna be in color, or they just want to keep it a mystery until the next episode. And it's just, I just really enjoyed that last episode. As much as a drag it became nearly at the end, and then the last, like, I would say 10 minutes of part 9, and the lead up to the regeneration, I just thought that handled really, really good. It's just the actual story itself just dragged on like a flippin'. Yep, I agreed on that one, indefinitely. But I have finished watching 2 out of the 7 Collected Doctors, and next time we will be starting what is it? Spearhead from Space, which is of course the beginning of Doctor Number